Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I have two goals. Number one, explain AI agents, the way they work, what they are, and everything else that you need to know about them to technically get started on this journey. And number two, build your first agent together with me. Okay, so let's get started, right? Let's get to the first point. What are AI agents? We've been hearing about AI for quite some time. We all know what ChatGPT is, right? And all of that exists, and I'm going to show you ChatGPT, right? Again, this is great. Hi, what's up, right? And we can just do that, and this is great, right? You have ChatGPT, you can talk to it, and and this is all great, right? But where does it actually end up to become an agent from this? So this is what right now what you're doing with ChatGPT, right? I just said hi, what's up, hi Akshat, all good. Now this is technically how it looks like, right? So very simply, you are talking as a user here, you're talking as a user to an LLM, right? An LLM is the technology. Okay, so this is this is like the core technology. So let me just put this here so you remember this, right? So this is technology. This is the technology that is important for all of these applications to run. And then you have applications like ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini, right? They are the part of this whole thing. They are applications. They have again, for example, ChatGPT has this cool features such as you have these buttons and everything else. You have a edit in canvas. This is a feature. This is not something that the technology has to do, but like the application layer. This is something that they thought this would be cool, so let's build that, right? Again, the technology still stays the same. And this is what again, what we are doing, what we have been using for most of the times. And now most of you obviously know it on how to use this. So what does this word AI agents mean then, right? What does agents mean? Think about that. Agents is actually derived from the word to do something, right? Again, so very simply is to do something is equal to agency or agents, right? This is what we call, right? So AI agents are nothing but AIs which can take some level of action, right? They can take some level of action. So if they can take some level of action, that's what we call as AI agents. And I'm 110% telling you, this is exactly what it is. An AI that can take some amount of actions, right? So how does this convert to an LLM or ChatGPT format? Let's take an example of ChatGPT, right? If I think about ChatGPT or like the LLM that it uses, again, very simply what we are telling here, and again, let me just tell you this in the simplest way possible. If I tell this LLM, right? If I tell this LLM that here you can take an action or you have access to take an action. So access to take an action, right? So I'm telling this LLM that you tomorrow, if I want you to, you can go ahead and create this kind of a diagram because you have access to take this action. So this gets connected here and you have access to take an action. So if you're an LLM, you can take an action. I'm telling you that, right? And the user is still in control. The user is still going to talk to the LLM and everything and XYZ and tell what action needs to be taken. So let's take that as an example, right? Let's go to ChatGPT, our favorite tool, and see how does an action work. So I'm just going to start a new chat, right? And I'm going to, if you have not seen this, right? If you've not seen this, I'm going to show you this beautiful thing here, right? These are tools, right? And I'll tell you why exactly they're called the word tools, and we'll come back to that, right? But here, I'm going to ask it to take an action. I'm going to ask it to search the web, right? Again, simple stuff, simple stuff. You guys will be like, Akshat, you can do this on Google. Yes, it is as simple as that, right? So very simply, we're going to go and ask it to do something. So I'm just going to say, search for how did the markets perform today in India, right? That's it, right? I just told it that you go ahead and do something. Now, as you can see here, it searched the web. It searched for a very small time. It searched the web. If you were able to see that 3-5 seconds of things, it searched the web and brought out these sources, brought out this information about the market, and very simply created this answer for me. But it took an action because it has access to a tool which I selected, which is search, which is a tool that I've told it that go ahead, you can take this action, you have access to this, and I want you to search for how the markets perform today, right? So it took an action on its behalf. It took an action on my behalf and told it I'm going to search and I'm going to bring this response back, and you can see the response is fine, whatever, I don't care, right? But it took an action. And similarly, there are other options that you can do here to do. I think a good example of this would be research. Do a deep research on the market's outlook in India for 2026, right? Imagine all the, don't ask me any questions. I'm just going to say don't ask me any questions because it always does, and that's why I want to say ask me any questions, go ahead. Now research is technically the best part of the two, right? And it's again, it's literally going to ask me questions like, take your own input. I don't know, like, I don't care about what specifically we want market. I just want to show you the tool, right? So very simply, it's now going to go ahead and access the research tool. And as you can see, it's starting research. And in a second, I'll show you all the things that it takes up. But it is now starting research and going to do an action on my behalf on, like, because I told it, go ahead and do this. You've seen the web, you've seen this, now go ahead and research. And as you can see, it has already started. I can stop the research here. But if I click here, you can see it has automatically started doing something. And that's what we call, like, the doing part of things, like the activity, the agent activity that it is doing. So very simply, access to take an action, and when based on user input, right, based on user input, AI takes an action, right? And because AI takes an action, that's pretty much based on AI input, AI takes an action, right? It takes an action whatever based on user said. So I told it to go ahead and research about AI markets or like Indian markets, and it's going to go ahead and do that. And it's going to search, it's going to go through sources, it's going to take 8 to 10 minutes to do this and come back with a detailed research report. So AI agents, very simply, are just users which are talking to LLMs, but this LLM, instead of just like, having like the response part and like, just basically responding and talking to it, can also take an action. There is one more small caveat here. LLMs are mostly what we call stateless, right? We call them stateless. Now again, don't leave me here, okay? Stick with me. It's called stateless. That means it can't remember your conversation. It can't remember always. Like if you go to AI and if you're not using like a pro version of ChatGPT, even if you're using Claude or anything, it does not remember you a lot. Very small parts, right? Maybe. But LLMs, mostly if you are like just using an API, don't remember who you are. So here, we also do one beautiful thing. We call, very simply, is memory. Right now you might be like, this is stupid, you built up all of this and you call it memory. Yes, but like, that's pretty much it. We also give this LLM some level of memory, but the point is, it would be wrong of me to connect it here, right? I would technically want to connect this particular part of memory to a more of an application layer, right? You see, this is like, this, it's touching this green dot, and I want to like, technically change the color here, and I don't know, okay, I'm just going to make it black, right? So again, black and red. So this is a memory which is assigned mostly on the application part, right? Not on the LLMs, but it actually connects to this agent, because very simply, memory is still like, because LLMs as a technology are stateless, they don't remember anything. So we tell it like, okay, every time you are talking to this user and every time you are taking this action, tend to kind of like, try to do one small thing that we want, try to like, talk to it, try to talk to this particular thing so you can like, understand this, right? So try to talk to this thing and like, learn from this or XYZ or whatever you want to call it, right? But try to like reference. So whenever you are trying to like, tell LLM to use memory, you just tell, like, what, remember to use this. You have access to this user conversation and this user history, and remember to like, talk to memory. And that's how it works. Like, that's how like, the core part of AI agents look like. So you have an LLM, and then you have the memory, and then you have an access to take an action and everything else. But now we don't call them access to take an action, we call them tools. Tools equal to options of what actions it can take, right? So we call it very simply, tools are what we like, kind of like a technical term of saying this, like LLMs have access to tools. Like, it's like I have a tool of like, again, for example, I have a mouse which I can use my mouse. I'm just trying to pick up objects. This water bottle, I can drink water from this. And in the same way, LLMs, we tell them, here are 5 things, you know about it, and these are the tools that you can reference, right? This is what you can do to do something. If the user tells you to do something, go ahead and see if you can use this, right? Or if the user tells you, go ahead and search the web using this particular tool, go ahead and do that exactly. So we give AI tool, right? And this is how, what we call an agent. This exactly what looks like an agent, right? So you have AI, you are talking to the user, you have access to memory, you have option to take access and everything else. And this is what we simply, then we can pick this up and say, this is an AI agent. It's nothing crazy. It's simple, right? Again, so you can do something, and as you can see, AI is still like, going ahead and doing something on my behalf. It's going ahead and searching. It's automatically thinking about it, what it needs to do, but it's technically just using a tool. It's using an API call, whatever OpenAI people have created, and going ahead and like, finding stuff. Okay, here is what I can find. Here's what I can pick up and bring that back as a tool. That's why you see this word tools written everywhere. Tools are just actions that AI can take. The only thing is why we call them tools is because these actions are like, it can take, but also kind of like, you can say, it's like, there are different tools. So you can connect your Gmail, you can connect your calendar and everything else, and that's why, like, just that's the name why it is tools. This does not make sense if you can't build your first agent. So let's build our first agent without even, like, breaking our head, like, doing it in the simplest way possible. We're going to come to a beautiful platform called, if you've not heard of it, please do. It's called Zapier, right? Zapier.com, right? Probably one of the best platforms that ever exist, right? Super easy to use, super simple to do, and we're going to come to this. You technically don't even want to come here. You technically want to come to agents.zapier.com. The links will be in the description, so don't worry about it. Go ahead and, like, try this out. But I want you to follow me in building your first AI agent, because if you don't build it, I'm telling you, you're not going to get there. Okay, so stick with me. Very simply, we're going to come here, and you see, click on this beautiful button, right button here, new agent. You can click on left, new agent. You can click on any place, but you just link to click new agent. You come to the new agent, and here you get to this part. Super simple, right? Nothing we need to, like, don't figure out any part of this. I'm just going to guide you through it. On the left, you see multiple options of agents that already it gives an option about, like, do this, do that. Outreach agent, support email agent, biz dev call briefer, like, sales prep agent, like, cool stuff, or an inbox categorizer, Gmail auto replier, and everything else. I'm going to give it a more simpler task. I'm going to make it super simple. I'm going to ask it, go to my inbox and tell me the best Prime Day offers, right? Prime Day is going on. I'm recording this video on 14th July. Last, like, probably a couple of hours left. Go to my inbox and tell me the best Prime Day offers. Simple. And post that. Send me an email with all the great offers in a tabular format, right? That's it. So I'm going to give it exactly two things, okay? And, like, very simply, go to my inbox, see what are the best Prime Day offers, come back, and then after that, send me an email with all the great offers. So I don't have to break my head. I love a good offer, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do that and click on, very simply, click on create an agent, right? And Zapier actually does something beautiful here. It will make my instructions a bit better. It will explain it better. It will, like, Akshat, your instructions were horrible, right? You can't give me 2 lines and tell me to, like, do everything. But then after that, it asks you to connect your apps, because I told you email, so obviously it's going there. I've already connected my email, but if you want to connect new account, just click on connect new account. Like, you'll show up on the screen and you can, like, select an account. I've selected this one, my main account, and just go ahead and use that. Okay, and that's it. You can log in. I'm pretty sure all of you know how to log in, right? Once you're logged in, you just select this and you click on create. Now Zapier is going to build me a beautiful agent, right? And as you can see, it has improved my instructions, right? When the Prime Day offers, and, like, connect to the user's email account, search the inbox for Prime Day offers, extract the relevant details and everything else, okay? And then what we can do is, very simply, I need to add a trigger, right? What is a trigger, right? Again, this is mostly when you're building an agent like this, right? Again, you need a way. How does the agent know when to do this? How does the agent know this, right? So you have a couple of options here, right? And then you have some here, but we are going to select on demand, which is, like, as soon as I tell it, go ahead and do it. Click on demand, and again click on test the agent. Now it's going to go ahead, go to my inbox, search all the Prime Day offers, and hopefully bring something that's not super embarrassing, because this is my personal inbox, and just bring that up. Okay, couldn't find about Prime Day offers from the last 30 days. So apparently Amazon is not likes me or anything else, right? Then I'm going to ask, find me shopping offers for electronics in my inbox, right? Now again, this is good, like, I did not find anything about Prime or Amazon offers, right? I'm just going to ask it now, like, as an agent, you see the instructions are specific for Prime Day offers, but I can go ahead and now, because it's an AI agent, I can tell, find me shopping offers for electronics in my inbox or Amazon offers, right? And now it will automatically go into my inbox, create its own search strings, and figure out what needs to happen, right? Again, it will automatically see, okay, you know what, after 14 July. Okay, so the problem, I think, is, like, after 14 July, that's fine, it should find something. No electronics or Amazon offers were found. I, like, again, is my email, like, super clean? Is it, like, again, I don't have anything, or, like, okay, let's see. Find me hotel offers after this. This is, like, again, 110% should be there, some hotel offer. Like, again, it has access to my inbox, so I'll now search for Amazon shopping offers using broad keywords and make sure we don't miss any deals. And you see, agent is, like, going crazy, going itself and figuring it out, right? it's itself going ahead and figuring it out. Again, I'm going to give it a couple of seconds. Okay, so it started responding in a second or so. I found some emails that contain electronic offers. I will now extract and summarize the best deals for you, right? It will automatically start going like it's probably like, saw a lot of emails, right? Again, so the rendering could be slow and everything else. You don't need to care about all of these things. It will automatically like do. And now again, it's trying to do something again, like, like extract and summarize all of this information. I think there is something from American Express and there's something from here and there. Let's see, like, what comes out. It's probably going to take a couple of seconds because my inbox is pretty crazy, like, with the spam that I get about shopping offers. So it's going to take a second. I'm going to fast forward this. Okay, it found me a single offer actually, which is like, again, like, it went broad, like, found like, for 2000 voucher from Amazon, Flipkart, or because the word Amazon was there, it picked it up and brought it back, right? Again, so yes, if you guys have an Amex card, go ahead and try that out, right? Again, but very simply, it works, right? I was able to go ahead and ask it to find something completely different, right? I can also ask it to find me hotel offers, right? And just keep doing that. I can even ask it to find me a completely separate email and do that, right? It completely depends on what the ask is, but we don't need to. The best part about AI agents is, and you can see there are like ton of hotel offers. I wish I would have used this as first response, but very simply, you get so many different offers, right? What can you get and everything else. I am part of every freaking hotel offer that exists. So there are so many different options that I can use from. But that's the whole idea, right? Again, you can use the same agent, right? Because it has access to my inbox, I can ask it to do different things. I don't need to rewrite the instructions again. I don't need to like do anything more. I can just ask it to do things. And that exactly, my friends, is the difference between an AI agent and a software which is instructed to do the same thing, right? And softwares are like, this is exactly what you do. You go ahead and find for Amazon offers and you come back. That's it. You can't do anything after that. Other than that, like, you will have a UI and everything else. But here, I just built an agent which can go into my inbox and do anything. Now I can ask it, send this in an email, more summarized, right? And I can just like, tell that, like, send this in an email, more summarized and everything else, and just bring that back, right? Again. Now, one thing you will see, like, some of these dates are like, a bit like, old and everything else. Like, again, probably like, I've not got a lot of offers in a long time. But like, very simply, feedback is summarized or whatever, and then it will take that and send an email from my inbox to myself, right? Again, it's not going to send an inbox email anywhere else. It's just going to send an email to myself, and it's going to show me a preview and everything else. But if you have done this with me, I can assure you built your first agent, and a huge congrats to you. This is how you get started on building an agent. And as you can see, it created an email. I can ask it to send it, and it will send an email and everything else, right? We ask your permission only while you're testing. Other than that, they will be more than happy to send it to myself, and I can click on approve, right? And then it will automatically send an email. You don't need to click approve as it shows. It's just because we are testing, it needs an approval, else it will keep running. I can ask it to run every day and do that, right? So I can do schedule by Zapier, and then I can select when do I want to run it, every day, every month, every week. And it will automatically go into my inbox, search for all of these things, send me an email, and I'll be happy. But if you just see this, building an AI agent is quite literally that simple. And if you still don't believe me, I'm telling you, don't believe me. Go ahead and build it yourself. Go ahead and build an agent right now yourself. But that exactly is what we did. We had this tool, which is the Gmail, right? So if I just like, put the names here so you guys can like remember and like, what was every part of it. This is Gmail, right? So this was our Gmail, which was the tool, right? The memory part was just this chat conversation and some part of instructions, right? Again, I'll not call instructions in memory, but again, just for like, sake of it, very simply, like, the Gmail part, and then you have memory as the chat conversation, right? User information, some part of it, and then maybe like, custom instructions, right? Which is not technically memory, but like, again, I'll actually remove this chat conversation, user confirmation, and then we have in LLM, we gave it instructions, which is like technically here, right? So we have custom instructions, which we created, right? And like, pardon the spelling if I'm like pronounce that wrong, like instruction, right? Instruct. Okay, custom instructions, and then very simply, this is the custom instruction that it has. The user can talk to it. These are all the information pieces that we have here. And like, again, I'm just going to make it like, I want a blue and a yellow, and like, again, this is the tool that we use, this is the information that had in the memory, and this is the custom instruction. Super simple. It is quite literally that simple to build an agent, and this is how every part of this relates to each other, right? So you can quite literally go ahead right now and start building an agent yourself. You can go to new agents, You can see all the agents that I've created. I've created a couple of these to test and everything else. You can create a custom agent. You can use a template, right? So you want to create a sales prep agent, a lead enrichment agent, an outreach agent. You can create so many of them. And then as you come here, you can see the activity. Because we were testing this, we can go back and see the whole conversation that exists, right? Again, everything that we did. So even like, if you have something new, if you remember like, what happened in the last conversation I had, you can come to that and you can talk about it. And then obviously there are a lot of cool features, but again, I don't want to explain Zapier today, but I wanted to explain agents, and I hope by building your first agent, you have understood how all of these things work. But this quite literally is how you build an agent. But I hope you have understood how to build an agent. But before I leave you, let me hold you on for a second. If you want to build a bit more complex agent and bit more speed, or bit more, come to this beautiful tool called n8n. It's the best tool that you can use to use an AI agent. And as you can see, this is an example workflow that they've given. In an AI agent, you have the chat model. So OpenAI, Claude, or whatever you have connected to it. So ChatGPT uses OpenAI, that's the company model. And then you have Claude models or anything else. You can connect that. And then you have memory, and then you have tools. The same way that again, this logic works here, it works in this particular tool also, and you can create your own AI agents here also. Now again, I have a ton of tutorials on this, so go ahead and watch that if you want to, or go ahead and just search on YouTube how to build your first AI agent in n8n. But please go ahead and try it out. Go ahead and build your first agents today. It's super simple, and the AI agents are nothing but AI which can take some amount of action based on the tools that it has access to. That's pretty much it. Again, if you like the video, please do me a favor. Go ahead and click on the like button. It costs you nothing, helps you out a lot, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. And please share this with your friends, right? Would really mean a lot, and they will also get to learn about AI agents, and then you can nerd out together and watch my content also together. Till then, I'll see you in the next one, and I hope you had fun.